Latino Network celebrates the 20th annual memorial breakfast of Cesar Chavez by honoring his legacy. One of the many guests, Jose Medina, State Assemblyman, annually attends the breakfast in honor of his hero.
Every year I come to the Latino Network Cesar Chavez celebration because I think it's important that we remember Cesar Chavez and all the work that he did for farm workers and the effect that he had on everyone in the state of California and across the United States. And I think it's very important that we remember his memory and his contributions. You know, growing up, being a young person and being involved in the farm worker movement, I don't think I would have been a state assembly member had it been for the inspiration and the work that I did with Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers. So it is very important that especially young people remember that or learn about that.
Cesar Chavez inspired many young people to understand their roots. Gabby Plasencia, Ward 5 candidate, encourages the Latin youth to be proudful of their culture by taking action in high schools first.
It's important for our kids, my daughter, you as a young individual, to know our history. So with Assemblymember Medina pushing the ethnic studies bill and making a graduation requirement, it's going to help us have these conversations in the schools about ethnicity and where you came from and learning about your history. And I think when you're second, third, fourth generation Latino, you don't get that at home. Maybe you don't have the language anymore. Maybe your parents don't make tamales, all those things that makes our culture rich. I think it's something that they can get in the school. So I think that's why it's so important to pass the ethnic studies bill to ensure that those third, fourth generation Latinos are still learning about their heritage, where they came from, and what they need to do to help us be successful in the future.
The Ethnic Studies Bill would be a course on the study of race and ethnicity to help understand Chavez's history.
We need to understand our history, our culture, and what Cesar Chavez has done for our families across the state and across our nation. I mean, fighting for labor rights, fighting for dignity on the workforce. This is something that our families have been a part of. My family, from both sides, my parents' side, were farm workers, and they worked up and down the state. And so this is a movement for all of us to be a part of, and it's so important for millennials to carry on that not just that legacy of Cesar Chavez, but that history. And so we need to carry down from generation to generation so that we can always preserve it.
The importance of Cesar Chavez Day is explained by the honored guest speaker Elisa Medina by expressing the many racial issues still happening in America today.
Well, I think this is particularly important for today's young people because we are facing some huge challenges. And the only way to deal with them is to make sure that today's young people take on the responsibility for leading us into the future. I've no doubt that when today's young people take up their responsibilities, that we will have a much better America than the one they inherited from us. And, you know, once we start connecting and talking to each other, it'd be amazing. It'll spread like wildfire. Next thing you know, you've begun to build a movement. And it'll be one of those movements that'll be unstoppable. And there's no question in my mind that when people start doing that, change is not only possible, it's inevitable.
This is Kenia Marrufo with Riverside College News.